Hey guys, welcome everybody. On Monday, we're getting the last patch of La Roy. So I thought it was a good moment to review all of the patches that we have had in Wuthering Waves and rank them based on how much I like the story. Let's get right into it and let's see if you guys agree or disagree with me. Okay, so here we have the tier list of all of the patches. Let's start with version 1.0, and unfortunately this one has to go to F. It is the introduction to the game, but it is honestly pretty weak. The good points that it has is that it introduces some amazing characters like one of my favorites, which is Sanhua. It introduces also the Fracticidus and Scar, and with it comes one of the most iconic scenes in the game, which is the lambs and the wolf scenes. So that is amazing. But on the other hand, it feels too slow. It feels like nothing is happening for the most part of the story. They introduce a bunch of characters which they do not explain who they are or what they do. And honestly, I almost dropped the game just because of this. Now let's get into version 1.1. And version 1.0 was so bad that they had to bring this version a couple of weeks earlier than they were going to do it. And I have to say that this version was much better. It's still going to go into D tier because the story had its ups and downs. Some of the good things were that the map itself looked much more related to the story with the stopping time and all of that. Changli came, which is an amazing character even nowadays. I really hope that we see more of her soon. And finally, we learned a bit more about the rover, about his past, about his relation to Jue and the other creatures like him in the world. So overall, it was much better than the first one, but it still had a lot of downsides. The story felt a bit short and predictive. The cast of characters was really small. We almost only had Changli and Yingxi, and it felt to me sometimes like you were going through a bunch of mini missions in between caves, which made the experience not that great. Overall, I cannot rank it that high either. And now we skip 1.2 because there was no story and we go straight into 1.3. And this is actually the first good story patch of Wuthering Waves in my opinion. And I'm gonna rank it in tier B. I know it doesn't sound high, but I really like this version. The graphics improved so much in the story. I remember this scene where you're like going through a wall and seeing the background. It was amazing. You get the introduction of Shore, which is one of the most iconic characters in the whole game, and it's still one of the fan favorites. And you also learn more about the past of the rover, but this time for real. You learn about his relation with the Black Shores, etc., which is one of the most important points of the story. However, this version still had some problems in my opinion. The cast was really small again. We didn't have a lot of characters to interact with. Even though we had the introduction of Shore, the rest of them were not really that relevant, like Encore or Alto could have had more relevance in my opinion. The story, while it's good and I love the Shorekeeper part, it's not perfect. I don't think the storytelling was that great. And most importantly, it was super slow. It took quite a bit to start. And the beginning was quite boring. And now we go into one of my favorite patches of the game, and it's the patch 2.0. And I'm gonna rank it A, which is the best one so far, and with a good reason. We get introduction of an iconic cast of characters, Carlota, which is one of my favorite characters in the game. You get introduced to Sunny, you get introduced to Phoebe, Brand, etc. We actually start seeing the stakes with the Fracticidus. Prologue appearing in the end. You also have Cristoforo there at the beginning, even though you still don't know he's part of the Fracticidus. The story is long, but it doesn't feel long. So that's the type of story that's amazing, where you can play through a lot of hours, but still feel like you're enjoying all of it. And lastly, the great cliffhanger with Cartithia. The introduction at the end of her being like, wait, you can see me? That was honestly really good. That's why I rate it so high. This version still had its problems though. Some of the plot points felt disconnected, especially when you go to meet Brand. And I know that there's some people that did not like the festival, but that is not my case. So that is the only bad things that I have to say about this patch. So overall, really solid. Patch 2.0. And oh boy, we're going to actually my favorite patch of this game. And it's gonna go straight into S and probably gonna stay in the first position of S. So the story is amazing with Cartithia, with Cantarella. The Abinolium, it doesn't feel like it's a place where the story happens, but it feels like a part of the story. The visuals are fantastic. And I love the plot twist of Cantarella, of them showing how in the end she was supposed to be the Sentinel Resonator, but she decided to give it up for Cartithia. That was a great story point. And lastly, we get to finally understand a bit more of the big evils of the story, which are the Thronodians. If there's anything bad about this patch of story, is that if you don't enjoy the character of Cartithia, you may feel like this story is too much surrounding around her. The rest, in my opinion, is fantastic. Top tier patch, goes straight into S. Now we go straight into 2.4, and it is an A, but it's close to being S. I really like this patch. So we get the introduction of the new region connected through Cartithia. Through all the patch, I really didn't know what was going on and what was going to happen. The thing of changing between dimensions, I enjoyed it a lot because I was all the time thinking, what the heck is happening? How are they going to solve this? I love the Cartithia and Lupa match. Honestly, I think Kuda did a great job by mixing these two characters together. And most importantly, we got introduced to the best character in Wuthering Waves. You know, if I have to say something bad about this patch, is the fact that it was split into two, which didn't feel great. Right now we're used to it, but back in the day, I think this was the first time they did it. And on retrospective, it feels a bit weird that some characters like Yuno or Augusta did not have more involvement in the story and did not play a part in solving this problem. 2.5, and 2.5 is one of the worst recent versions we have had. It's gonna go straight into B. For always good, that was the best part of the story by far. I like how they showed the corruption part of the church, which later led into Phoebe becoming the leader of the church. But on the other hand, it had a lot of bad points that I did not enjoy. Like, I felt like it came a bit out of nowhere, to be honest. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why I was there. I didn't enjoy much Fenrico's part. Fenrico's story didn't feel that amazing. And sometimes it was difficult to follow what was going on and why we were doing all of this. Felt like we were missing a bit of explanation in between patch 2.4 and 2.5. We're gonna get into the second S tier of our patches, and it's patch 2.6. 2.6 was amazing because of a lot of reasons. Well, first of all, it was the version where Juno played a great role in the story. I love the ending with her throwing the arrow with the bone that broke the destiny. I love the Augusta's past. It was actually quite enjoyable seeing how she was a weak kid, but by fighting and slowly but steadily growing in the chain, she became the ruler of Septimont. And by the way, the boss felt like one of the most menacing, if not the most menacing we've had so far in the story. It was the first one that I saw and I was like, whoa, this guy. I don't know if I want to fight this thing, And ultimately, it really felt like we were gonna lose. We actually lost if it was not for Juno's sacrifice, which is something I think we cannot say of any other patch of the story. If there's anything dragging down this patch is the fact that you guys know that I'm a huge Juno fan, but her story quest felt a bit slow. It's not bad, but it's slow. So I think they could have improved the pacing a bit. But yeah, overall, top tier, second best patch in the game, in my opinion. So let's get into the next one. And the next one is 2.7, and it's going straight into, should it be, yeah. I'm gonna put it in A. And I know a lot of you guys are gonna kill me because of this, because this patch is the favorite one of a lot of people, and you're gonna be like, Sidram, why is it not an S? It has great points, but it also has some bad points that I would like to tell you, in my opinion. So the great points, Bullying, MVP, I love her. She is an amazing character, honestly. I'm surprised they made her a 4-star, not a 5-star. It has some really epic scenes, like battle scenes. I love the introduction of finally the boss of the Fraxidus, the architect. My favorite part actually was the beginning, where Galbrena quote-unquote killed Corithia. That felt like a whoa, comes out of nowhere. So that was amazing. And one thing that I also really enjoyed was the cliffhanger of the Leviathan calling out Abu, saying like, Abi, you're one of us. Why are you with them? Waishama! Waishama! So yeah, that was pretty cool. But I do have some issues with this version. First of all, Choyuan came out of nowhere. Feels like they developed the character and they wanted to introduce him in the story. And they were like, okay, maybe now, because we don't know when to include him. The everybody come felt a bit forced. Everybody from Rinasida coming together. I felt like the mix of Carlotta, Brand, Zanny, Phoebe, and the Septimon characters, plus the monsters, the ecos, didn't make much sense, and it came out of nowhere, literally. And also, I didn't like the fact that the final boss was just another version of Corithia. I feel like they could have done better with that. But overall, great version. I really enjoyed it. It's just that it's not as good as the top tier ones of the game, in my opinion. And we get into the last patch of version 2.x, and it's 2.8, and it's gonna go also into A tier. I honestly loved the interaction between Rover and Chisa. You guys know that Chisa is my second favorite character in the game, and it's because of how well the battle of her character was in version 2.0. I love the idea of the passing days where everything resetted, and it felt like a great side quest. You know these anime chapters where you go on a summer chapter adventure, which are always super fun? So this felt kind of like it. But on the other hand, it was great, but again, it felt like a side quest, so you cannot take it as seriously as you do with other patches, maybe. And I know this is something that you could not tell back then, but Chisa ended up being literally nothing in the story. She was good for a patch, and then she was gone. And one of the reasons why I like Chisa so much too is because I saw the potential in her. So those are the bad things that make me not be able to put it into S tier, but still, I really enjoy this patch. Now, 3.0, and there's a lot of people that love this patch, apparently. I've seen on the internet people praising it a lot. For me, it's good, but it's gonna go into B tier. So I like Linai a lot. It's a character that I really enjoy. I liked how they were insinuating that you knew everybody, literally, even though you didn't remember that. And of course, we got introduced to MF, which is a great character. And overall, the story felt good. But while the story felt like it was good, and I think the storytelling was good, so I think that more than the story being good, the storytelling was good. Because it's also true that it felt a bit more like two companion quests, which is the Linai quest and the Mornia quest, than a part of the main story. And also, I think they took too much time introducing the region. It took them too much to get into action. I was like, come on, give me something! Tell me something more, Kuro, forever. That is why it goes on B tier. Yeah, you guys are gonna kill me. 3.1, A tier. I really don't have a reason to put it in A tier, not in S tier. It's just I enjoyed the other ones that are gonna go into S tier more than this one. But it could perfectly go into S. My favorite part of this patch was probably the look back story with the Fraxidus. I thought that was great. I thought the Nibora turning out to be the architect was an amazing plot twist, probably the better one we had in Wuthering Waves so far. And of course, the MF tragedy slash sacrifice and the reveal that she was our daughter was great too. However, the beginning, I felt like it was a bit slow, and also I did not enjoy the spaceship part. So for me, it took too long to start to be good. So that is why it's not going into S, but I would understand if you put it there. Last two patches, and 3.2, you are gonna go straight here. And you cannot be higher, unfortunately, because I love you, Sigrika. But yeah, the good points of this patch were that Sigrika is adorable. I think we all ended up loving her. We got introduced to Dinia, which is now one of the most popular characters in the game, but back in version 3.2, she was not that big of a deal. And I like the shift to this more horror slash mystery thing they did with the Academy. But overall, yeah, it felt more like a companion quest. Even though I thought the storytelling was good, the story was not that great again. They were not telling that much stuff, so yeah, I cannot place it higher on this. And lastly, we finally have the last patch, 3.3, and this one is the last one that's gonna go into S tier. If it was only the first part, it would have gone probably into A tier, but I really love the Dinia part. And if you have not seen it, we have the video of my reaction to the Dinia part of the story in the channel, so check it out. But yeah, that part broke me. I actually really loved the Dinia backstory. She's become one of my favorite characters. But besides that, the Hyuki part was also amazing. The part where we are saving the Academia, the part where we are saving MF, all of that felt amazing, felt like a great conclusion to the Lahai Roy story. The only bad thing that I have to say about this patch, and it's a very bad thing honestly, is the fact that you have to go through all of the first part of the story almost to be able to explore the new map. But since this is not part of the story per se, it is map related, I'm not gonna take it into account, I'm not gonna put it against this patch, so it goes, yeah, straight into S. And with this, we have them all. What do you think, guys, about my ranking of the patches? I know all of you guys are gonna be fired up, especially about 3.1, but I don't know, let me know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree, and how would you rank them? Let's see on Monday what the Cyberpunk collab looks like and how it's gonna integrate in the story, because I am curious how they're gonna mix both worlds together. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.